we're actually going to be eating more, and we're going to be eating more of what is called a magic plate. A magic plate consists...
There's the potential to build the muscle, but what is it actually using to build it? There's nothing there to use it.
There's this area here in the belly called, commonly referred as belly fat, but is also visceral fat. That means that a lot of your organs, basically, if you're over 40, do you want me to explain to you what sometimes the 4 levels of motivation in the context?
Please.
Get ready for the next iteration of you on your path to becoming wealthy. On this show, you'll get the insider's view on wealth creation, the class none of us got taught in school, with my co-host, daughter, and beginning investor, Sophia Bosch. And now, let's get started. Welcome to the Becoming Wealthy podcast. I'm your host, Michelle, and
Sophia.
And we are talking today, Sophia. I was very excited, to tell you about the 4 levels of motivation that I learned during a nutrition challenge that I did last week. You remember that I was like...
Yes.
Every 3 hours making sure I was like eating, right?
3 hours?
Yeah, well, you were most of the day gone in school, but I was trying to make sure that every 3 hours I was eating...
Stuffing something?
Yeah, I was eating what is called the magic plate. So let me tell you all about it. So,
okay, yeah.
Because obviously you only saw me at dinner time and snack right before going to bed.
Yes.
So, you know Mrs. Patel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mutual friend. You went to school
Yes.
with her son, and she was kind enough to think about me and basically invite me to this challenge that she had participated with a coach. She really, really wanted her sister to actually participate in the challenge as well. And the coach wasn't available until January to do another challenge unless Mrs. Patel would put together a group of friends. And I thought, wow, how generous of her, how amazing of her to think of me, because I learned so much, Sophia, and it was so good for me. So for the last, I would say 10 years, what I've always heard about food and eating has been that, there's a base metabolic rate, or a number of calories based on your age, based on your weight, based on your height, that you need in order to basically maintain your weight.
Yeah.
And for all your brain to do its functions and all your organs to do their functions. And so for me, it's like around 1,200 calories a day that I need. So what I learned during this challenge is that whenever I've been wanting to lose weight, and I know that for you, you're not over 40, not by any stretch of the imagination, you're 17 now, but I want to explain to you basically what will be coming your way and the greatest advantages that you have right now that you're 17, and that I don't have as much of anymore. And that is, number one, what you have going for you right now is that you have muscle, and you have the ability to build muscle much, much easier, number one. And number two, you have hormones. You have basically estrogen in your body. You have testosterone in your body. You have progesterone in your body. And of course, all other hormones as well, like cortisol and, oxytocin and this and this and that. Like basically, you're 17. You just basically went through puberty, and you are in excess of muscle from the sports that you do rock climbing, you're super lean, and so on and so forth. Now you're going to be starting soccer, yeah. And so what I realized that now that I'm 48 is that I'm having some changes in my hormones. There are certain hormones that I don't have as much as you do. And that ever since I turned 30, like basically that next decade between 30 and 40, I lost anywhere between 5 and 8% of muscle mass. And that I have not been eating like I should be eating in order for muscle to grow. What you've always seen me do. What have you always seen me do when I want to lose weight? Do I eat more or do I eat less?
Less.
Exactly. That's what is called caloric restriction or deficit, basically, where you cut calories. And what I never understood was that whenever you cut calories, you are also cutting an energy block that corresponds to those calories. And hence, what do I usually, have been complaining about? That I'm what? Tired, fatigued, and so on, that I have headaches. As a matter of fact, yesterday.
Yeah.
What happened yesterday, like around 8 p.m.?
8 p.m. I was sitting in my bed, like, doing homework, and I get this it's this terrible, terrible headache.
Mm-hmm.
It's pounding. I don't know what's wrong. For the past, since I've gotten home, I've been working, and I forgot to eat.
Yes.
So,
And what had been, so it was like 8 p.m.
I'm like, why is this happening to me? And I call you in, and you're like, okay, have you drank water? I'm like, yes. Have you had
a meal?
Yeah. Have you had a meal? And I said no. And you're like, that's it.
That's it. And then I asked you, when was your last meal? And when had your last meal been? It was
11:30.
11:30. And what did you have at 11:30?
A salad.
So since 11:30 until the evening at 8 p.m. And this is not something that happens.
I didn't. It never usually happens either. I'm usually always hungry too. But I guess I was so focused in what I was doing that it just didn't occur to me that I should eat something.
Yeah, exactly.
I forgot.
And that happens, I think, to all of us, Sophia, here and there. But when it becomes a pattern or a habit of basically not eating at a certain time, or going for these long stretches without food, there's basically a sugar crash that happens in your body, and that's probably where the headache was coming from. But I want to say that the reason why sometimes we forget to eat is because we're all, especially for us women, we're very busy. We're trying to juggle, careers. We're trying to juggle families. We're trying to juggle basically, at this point, I no longer have to bring you to any extracurriculars because you can drive yourself. But when you were younger, there was that component as well, having to prepare meals for the family. And basically, there's going to be a tendency, even as a woman without a husband and without family, to basically put everything that has to do with your career first and think about yourself at the very end. Basically, put yourself last. That's just a tendency. I think it's part of how women are wired. We're also willing to do much, much more for others than what we're willing to do for ourselves. So we tend to put ourselves at the very end, of the self-care ladder, if you want to call it. And so yesterday you put all your studies, all your obligations, all your to-dos basically at the forefront and put your self-care in the back burner, pretty much. Yeah. And so that's what I learned, that this is not uncommon. This is actually something that happens to all women, I think, regardless of age. And how important it is to basically understand that whenever we go into a caloric deficit, that especially for women over 40, that means that you're not able to, and if you're not doing strength training in combination, so or say you're doing strength training but you're not eating enough carbs and you're not eating enough meals, that there's no way that you're going to be able to build muscle.
Yeah, because there's not, I guess that it does make sense, because if there's nothing, there's the potential to build the muscle, but what is it actually using to build it? There's nothing there to use it to
as a building block to be able to build it. Exactly. And that was my biggest aha, because like I said, every time I wanted to drop weight, I went into a caloric deficit and I cut out all carbs. Like up until last week,
it makes you skinnier, but I don't think it's the bad type of skinny.
I don't know if it made me skinny. Well, maybe it for some women it does.
It's not.
But what I do notice is that there's this area here in the belly called commonly referred as belly fat, but is also visceral fat. That means that a lot of your organs, basically, if you're over 40, and you're going into caloric deficits and you're not eating carbs, and what happens is that your metabolism slows down, you have less energy, and then you stop losing weight, and in order to keep on losing, in your mind, losing weight, you keep on dropping, by another 200 calories, and there's even less energy and less of the building blocks that you would need, the energy to go work out and the building blocks that you would need in order for that workout to actually result in some actual growth of muscle. That was my biggest aha. And the context in which this information was delivered was what really hit home. Do you want me to explain to you what sometimes the 4 levels of motivation in the context?
Please.
Okay, so for anything that we do, including investing, there's usually four things that we look at. We do things because we are fearful that we're not going to get something, or we're fearful of what others are going to say if we don't do something. Like for example, you're at a party and you're in peer pressure and everyone else is drinking, and you're like, oh my gosh, I might have to take a shot because what are others going to think? So sometimes we do things out of fear, but it could happen. I know you're different, but it could happen. Number 2 reason why we do it. So the first one was there's a possibility of loss. The second one, we do it because we desire something. Yeah. So the possibility of gain. Maybe, we go and start a nutrition program and start working out, or go into caloric deficits, eating less, or doing fasting, or doing, ketogenic diets, which they all have their place, just not for extended periods of time. And we do that out of a desire to look good, to fit into a dress because we have a wedding coming up, or a photo shoot coming up. Do you remember last year we had that photo shoot and we started really restricting our calories so that, our outfits will look good, right? And so we did it out of a desire of wanting to look good. And so that's level number 2 of motivation for why people do the things that they do. But the next level is out of duty. And sometimes we do things, because, it'll help others, in some way, shape, or form. Like sometimes we invest, we actually see a lot of our coaching students inside of the Land Profits world that invest because they want something better for their family. And that's something honorable, to want as a family to succeed and to pull forward together and to experience new levels of freedom and so on and so forth. And so that's a good motivation, but it is still out of duty. And sometimes at some point we might resent others if we are always doing things so that somebody else in our can benefit. Yeah. So that's what hit home. Last week for me. And then the 4th level of motivation, I think, which is the most important, and I think is the one that really yields and is gonna yield for me transformation, because I decided to invest. Today I hire the coach that I did the challenge with last week. So I'm excited because now I finally have someone here in town that could help me put this together, that understands. Okay. Yeah, here in town.
That's nice to have that face-to-face accountability.
Yeah,
too.
Even though some of the coaching is going to be on Zoom.
That's still fun.
But basically she's here in town and she
That's
understands.
Actually very helpful because she understands, I feel like face-to-face is so much better than on Zoom. Plus, if she lives in town, if it's nutrition stuff, she knows exactly where the grocery stores are and
what's available.
Yeah, what's available. That's where my thoughts
that makes complete sense. And so I did it because I have realized that like I said, I'm 48. That for 40 something years, I have been eating never out of the 4th level of motivation. Do you know what that is? Are you curious? Dun, 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 what that 4th level is?
Yes, sorry, I'm drinking water.
That 4th level is actually out of self-love. And self-love, what I came to understand last week, it like I like really embody it, like deep in my heart, finally clicked, is that self-love is the one thing that gives you the ability to stay consistent, especially when you're going through a transformation. Like we tell our students in our coaching, you know, that staying consistent with their mailings, staying consistent with their offers, like consistency is not sensational, right?
It can be.
Well, it can be, but if you have to be consistent on your own and you don't have that motivation of self-love, of showing up for your business or showing up for yourself at the gym, you know, to work out,
it'll be very hard.
Or at the end of the week for food prepping for the week so that you're eating well and you're eating whole foods. What I realized is that, you know, I have been missing that piece, and it was almost like
so you're like, why? You're missing your why?
Yeah, I was missing a portion, and then I realized that for many years, you know, when I have gone into caloric restriction or into these yo-yo fat diets, that that I have neglected that the reason why I was going into that was because there was an element of self-loathing, of actually not loving myself, and therefore that being the reason, you know, the way I looked, and that being the reason why I was, you know, starting, you know, those diets.
Okay.
And so I just thought that was something that was worth passing on to the next generation. And I am even wondering if you would be interested in joining me, you know, in my food journey here at home, because I'm going to be cooking basically meals and working.
Well, what type of, like, talk to me more about the nutrition. Like, is it something like keto where you cut out all simple carbs, like things like that? No,
it's actually,
like, what is it?
We're actually going to be eating more, and we're going to be eating more of what is called a magic plate. A magic plate consists of protein, and the portion of the protein being about the size of your fist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Carbs being about the size of your palm. And so that you have half of the plate. If you think about it, you know, you have 2/4 of the plate taken care of. I'm sorry. Fats are a thumb, not Papa's thumb, but if I'm eating, it would be my thumb.
Yeah.
Or if you're eating, your thumb, you know, in terms of, and so how does that look? At breakfast, it's going to look like an egg, maybe some egg whites, you know, and one egg. And it's going to look like maybe a couple slices of avocado. And maybe it's going to look like some, you know, sauteed veggies that will go along with that meal. And that would basically make what is called the magic plate. Now, in addition to the magic plate, you know, in order to fine tune and refine, you know, based on the goals that I have, you know, with my coach, we're going to be introducing something called macros. And macros are basically, there's 3 main categories, or 4, I would say, categories of nutrients that, you know, your body needs. One of them being protein, the other one being fat, the other one being carbohydrates, and the other one being fiber, you know, to keep everything moving, and so on and so forth. Of course, water. And so I'm going to basically be logging my food and making sure that I'm eating, you know, every 3 hours, that I'm revving up my metabolism, that I'm eating the things that I need for, you know, to build muscle. And that will, you know, hopefully, you know, I'm very positive just because of the results that I had in just 1 week. I had so much more energy. I actually did all 4 workouts. I can tell you're squirrely. I know, I have been squirrely. Again, exactly. I have been squirrely. I think that was a missing puzzle. You know, I went ahead, you know, on this journey last year of, like, you know, treating Lyme, then treating mold. I continued to treat that as well. Then, you know, addressing the hormonal imbalances. And I think now this is the next piece of the puzzle, is the nutrition with the workouts, is the next piece of the puzzle. And
is Eva still coming?
Eva will still be coming and supporting me on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I'm just going to be doing 2 other additional workouts, you know, with this other coach that I'm going to...
what type?
that I'm going to be working with.
What type of workout?
It's going to be also resistance training. Yeah. So that's one thing
For
that
how
I want to
long?
mention. Anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. But what I want to mention to you, Sophia, is that you're going to be doing a lot of cardio workout right now with
Yes.
and I know that
Soccer.
with soccer, and I know that when you go to the gym, you're also working on cardio. 'cause
Well,
you're
currently I have to be able to run.
Yeah.
That's like of course, leg strength is like just whole body core strength also. But currently my endurance for like running is not the best. It has never been great. So soccer, it's like high sprints, like reoccurring high intensity sprints. So I've been trying to like up that just before the soccer season, just so I don't pass out on the field, you know?
Yeah, I know. And you've had to drop, rock climbing, to be able to do soccer and incorporate, some of the other extracurriculars that you're working in your independent court. So what my proposal to you was like, because the strength training is so important, not just for when you're 40, but now, wanting to see if you would want to be my buddy, basically on those
The
strength
nutrition-
doing actual weight training, basically. That is going to take us maybe, at the minimum 30 minutes. And I'm thinking, can you carve 30 minutes?
Yeah, sounds good.
That's it?
Yeah.
That wasn't easy. I thought I was going to have to like beg for this.
No,
but
workouts is fun. As long as you don't make me do burpees, I'll be fine.
what do you think about now incorporating snacks that go to school, where you're putting basically a little bit of carbs, a little bit of protein, and then a little bit of fat?
Because I know that look like? I need like examples.
Okay, examples would be, for example, a little snack would be maybe a little bit of yogurt, a few almonds, and a fruit.
How often do you eat? Every 3 hours. So if you have breakfast at 7:30 in the morning,
You then eat at 11. You have your lunch.
I do have 11 at lunch. So
like
that's
around-
fun.
So like around.
And then when I come home from school,
So like around two-ish, you would basically try to, before your last class starts, you would have to eat something like real quick, basically on your way to your last class, just to make sure that, you have the energy and the fuel to finish your school day.
yeah, that last
top.
class is never.
And I think it may be just because, again, there's sugar levels that are dropping and
That last class is always a little pain. I love my teachers. It's just they can be a little bit boring.
towards the end of the day, I think it might have to do just with energy levels as well. So
The whole class
so,
also
so,
feels
so
it.
that was my biggest and what I know for sure, that to transform in any way, shape, or form, whatever it is that you want to do, that there's 3 C's that are important. And then the first C is a coach. Therefore, that's why I hired her, today. The second one is community. I'm going to be in a community with a bunch of other women as well, that, are not doing it perfectly every single day. And we're going to give ourselves grace. And at the same time, there's going to be some that are juggling so many things, and yet they make it happen. And that person's win is going to inspire me, when I slip, or when I don't want to remain consistent. And then the third C, consistency. Just consistency out of self-love, versus out of fear or out of desire or out of duty. That's basically what I wanted to share with you, in this episode. And I'm so happy that you're willing to come on this journey with me.
Yeah, sounds good.
And you're willing to try new stuff, right? New food. We're gonna be basically going on adventures.
Okay. Are you gonna cook it though?
Yes, I am going to cook it. I know you guys are scared of me getting into the kitchen, but I want to put into my meals.
Give you recipes?
I want to put into my meals what you put into your meal this last Friday. You had a friend come over, right?
Yes.
And you guys went and to the grocery store, shopped together.
Yes.
Came back home, prepared, your steaks, prepared your veggies, prepared some potatoes, and a lot of joy. What went into that meal? During the preparation of that meal, what went into it?
A lot of guessing because we both don't know how to cook.
Was that fun though, or stressful?
Yeah, it was fun.
Okay. There was an element of fun.
Yeah, and a little bit of stress because we had to like time it out, right? Make sure the potatoes were ready by the time, or like get them in first, like the whole timing of it. That's just logistics. So.
Yeah, some logistics. But generally speaking,
it was fun.
It was fun. You guys
ate well.
You ate well. You had a wonderful time together. And what I loved about that experience that I want to recreate now, for myself is basically preparing a meal and putting all of this love into the meal, and then feeding myself that meal and feeding you guys as well, and it all goes into this self-love. I've always thought that I am very lucky and we're very privileged that we could have, an outside company on the days in which I was super busy, cook at least one of the meals of the day for us.
Yeah, we do not.
And that, yes, that is wealth.
That was good though, because it had like the protein, the fat, the carb, like.
And that is wealth, that was possible because of wealth and because of our circumstantial power, meaning the circumstances that we have arranged our life in, that we could afford to have, such a service come every single day and, deliver food. But I am also excited about now the challenge of bringing back personal power and cooking my own meals and bringing back self-love and cooking our own meals. You
can cook my meal too.
Yes, well, we always
cook
do for dinner. We always do for dinner, and it's just that it's going to be much more intentional, and there's going to be a little bit of these portions controls, and I don't want to say controls, but really watching our portions and really logging in everything that we are putting into our bodies to make sure that we're fueling our body with what it's going to need in order for muscle to grow, for hormones to normalize, and to basically continue showing up to menopause, because that's where I'm headed. That's not where you're at right now. But something also that really clicked last week was like, right now you're so far away from this, but how you show up to perimenopause, which is the period before menopause, and to menopause, is going to be dictating how that entire new stage of your life is going to feel like. Is it going to feel debilitating? Are you going to be burned out? Are you going to be unhappy? Are you going to be lacking energy? Or are you going to show up basically to that stage of your life in the best shape possible? And I'm excited that you're willing to.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Thank you so much, Sophia. Well, that was basically it. I just that's a lesson that I wanted to pass on, because
we'll try it. We'll update.
We'll definitely update, because Grandma lives here with us, and Grandma most certainly doesn't eat like that. So I didn't learn it from her. So it's now my time to learn, so that you can learn from me. Sounds good?
Yes.
Alrighty then. Well, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Becoming Wealthy. I hope this was helpful to you, and if you liked it or you want to share with an important woman in your life, please do so. Leave us a 5-star review, and we can't wait to see you on another episode of Becoming Wealthy. Thank you so much.